The Rules Committee will come to order. We are here for consideration of two measures, H.R. 2930 and H.R. 2940, the Entrepreneur Access to Capital Act and the Access to Capital for Job Creators Act. And we're happy to welcome Mr. McHenry, Mr. Perlmutter, Mr. Fincher. Please come forward, gentlemen. And Mr. Fincher, I know this is your first time before the Rules Committee. Mr. McHenry, please join us at the table here. And before we begin, let me say that in his absence, and I hope that members of the committee will vouch for me on this, I regaled the newest father on the Rules Committee, who has just now come and announced his return after 4 weeks of maternity leave. Yeah, maternity, paternity, yeah. And so we are, I'm used to the maternity leave that Joe Maney is going to be having in the next couple of weeks. So we're looking forward to that. And so let me officially welcome the father of Caspian back, who was he was a pea pod on Halloween, and we have photographs that we'd like to circulate for members of the committee to see if you'd hand your iPhone or BlackBerry or whatever the hell it is around here so the members can have a chance to take a look at it. So welcome back, Mr. Polis. We're very, very happy to have you. And with that, we will begin with Mr. McHenry, and then we'll go to Mr. Perlmutter, and as I said, for his first time before the Rules Committee, Mr. Fincher. So, Mr. McHenry, please proceed without objection. Any prepared statement that you have will appear in the record its entirety. That's on. It's raring to go. So
thank you.
Thank
you, Mr. Chairman. And thank you for the opportunity to testify. I know the chairman enjoys very long opening statements, and I endeavor to give him.
What committee is that? That you think you're testifying?
Certainly not you, and certainly not this committee.
Right.
My bill is H.R. 2930. It removes SEC's restrictions to prevent crowdfunding. The idea with crowdfunding is entrepreneurs will be able to raise equity capital from a large pool of small investors who may or may not be considered accredited or high net worth individuals by the SEC. This will allow companies to pull up to $1 million in capital without registering with the SEC, or up to $2 million if the company provides investors with audited financial statements. Individual contributors are limited to $10,000 or 10% of the investor's annual income. In addition, H.R. 2930 creates a regulatory structure of investor protections around this new innovative form of financing with substantial intermediary requirements or issuer requirements if there is no intermediary. This follows the President's call for this type of measure to actually take place. He called for that in his jobs proposal. And going through the process in financial services, we worked diligently with members across the aisle to accommodate all their amendments and all their ideas. Every Democrat amendment that was offered at the subcommittee markup or the full committee markup was massaged and worked, and language agreed to on a bipartisan basis. And so what we have before us today is a bipartisan measure that came out of the Financial Service Committee with unanimous support. We have looked at other amendments that have been offered, and while I don't support all the amendments that have been submitted to Rules Committee, there are a few in particular that would be very positive. The Perlmutter-McHenry amendment that my colleague from Colorado and I have worked together on, and certainly appreciate his hard work for that. The Fincher-Sherman amendment and the Quayle amendment are both wonderful additions to this legislation. Furthermore, I've got technical and conforming changes, having worked with the SEC on language that we would like to offer as an amendment on the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. McHenry. Mr. Perlmutter.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And
welcome back to the Rules Committee. We're glad to have you.
Nice to see you, sir. We, on the Democratic side of the aisle, are in support of the bill that Mr. McHenry has brought forward. Our concerns were for investor protection, and we think that he has worked in such a fashion that we can build those protections in. So let's just talk briefly about the structure of this, because it's a new way to raise money, to sell securities, to sell investments. And so those are the kinds of things where you can get into trouble because there are shysters, there are con artists, there are fraud artists who can play in these games. And so,
Are those technical terms, or?
they are terms used out in the real world, and there are fraudulent operators. And so the purpose of the amendments that have been offered that the sponsor has accepted is to put some structure and some ability to police these kinds of bad acts. And so, just for the committee's benefit, there's sort of three levels to this. First is being able to solicit and sell investments over the internet for small investments. That's the main thing, and do that registration nationally. So there is a general national sales effort, but then how we've worked it out, the states, Mrs. Maloney, with the sponsor's approval, made an amendment that the states would then be notified of this national solicitation, this national sales effort to the SEC, because these are small enough investments that it's going to be hard for the SEC to police these kinds of things. So then we move to the states. So there will be notice to the state of the national solicitation, and then we'll offer an amendment. Our joint amendment then provides that the police powers of the state to enforce the laws against bad conduct, fraud, deceit, embezzlement, any kind of misleading statements will then kick in, so that there is a structure to allow for the internet to be used for small investments. States are notified. States then provide their police powers. And so with those and some of the other investment protection efforts and amendments, we're in support of the bill.
Thank you very much. And have we commented on the other bill too? Are you commenting on both of them?
I'll be sitting through both bills.
Yeah. I mean, Patrick, do you want to? Have you covered your thoughts on the other bill as well?
No, and in addition to that, Kevin McCarthy's bill, H.R. 2940, removes a regulatory ban that prevents small, privately held companies from using advertisement to solicit investors, so-called blue skies. And so this prohibition has been interpreted to mean that potential investors must have an existing relationship with the company, which unnecessarily limits the pool of investors, to the point where even if you put up on your Facebook status that you're raising capital, or you tweet that you're raising capital, you could conceivably be breaking existing securities laws in this country. This too came out of committee with a bipartisan vote, has wide support, and we'll look forward to it being brought forward to the floor.
We are supportive of 2940. We have a couple of amendments, one offered by Mr. Miller and one by Ms. Velasquez, that we want to present on the floor.
Now, for his first performance before the Rules Committee, we're happy to welcome the gentleman from Frog Jump.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and the full committee. On behalf of myself and Congressman Sherman, the co-sponsor of this amendment, I appreciate the time this afternoon to share with you why we believe my amendment to H.R. 2930, the Entrepreneur Access to Capital Act, should be made in order and offered on the House floor. I offer a common sense amendment that I believe makes a good idea even better. Crowdfunding is an opportunity for Main Street Americans, like our teachers, police officers, and farmers, to pool their money and invest in the entrepreneurs in their communities. These investments are usually very small individual contributions, often less than $1,000. The underlying bill allows an exemption from the SEC filing for an issuance up to $1 million or an issuance up to $2 million if the issuer provides potential investors with audited financial statements. These amounts were agreed in the Financial Services Committee during the markup process in order to provide a sufficient amount for the launch of a successful product or idea without unduly burdening the state regulators. A sad fact of life, however, is inflation. What is worth $1 million or $2 million today will be worth less 10 years from now. Since the end of World War II, the United States has experienced almost continuous inflation. According to the Congressional Research Service, the cumulative effect of this inflation is staggering. The price level has risen more than 1,000% since the end of World War II. As the real value of money decreases over time, small contribution investors may be discouraged from supporting startup companies in the future due to diminishing buying power of their original investment. Indexing for inflation now will ensure that the $1 million and $2 million numbers always remain worth in the future what they are now, which will help our businesses get the investments they need to create jobs. This amendment will ensure that investment opportunities today are as strong as tomorrow. People sent us to Washington to get it right the first time, not spend countless hours and numerous taxpayer dollars to correct unintended consequences. And with that, I yield back.
Good job, Mr. Fincher. I congratulate both of you for all three of you for working in a bipartisan way to ensure that we pursue our shared goal of job creation and economic growth. And I have no questions. Mr. Sessions.
Chairman, thank you very much. Stephen, welcome to the Rules Committee.
Thank you.
You know, for a guy from Frog Jump, Tennessee, you've come a long way, or maybe we've come a long way to get you here.
Would the gentleman yield?
I would yield.
I thank my friend for yielding. And having heard that statement, it reminds me of a story of a former member of this committee, a guy called Gene Taylor, not the one you're thinking of, Congressman Gene Taylor, who was from Sarcoxie, Missouri. And there was a meeting taking place in not the Rules Committee, but it was another committee. It was on the no longer existing Post Office and Civil Service Committee. And there were some witnesses before the committee, and they testified, and they were offering some brilliant thoughts. And Mr. Taylor then responded and said, you know, I keep hearing that everybody up here in Washington, D.C. is so smart. He said, but I've got to tell you that nobody in Washington, D.C. knows where Sarcoxie, Missouri is, but everybody in Sarcoxie, Missouri knows where Washington, D.C. is. And I would extrapolate to a Frog Jump in the exact same way as far as intelligence. I thank my friend for yielding.
I appreciate the chairman making that observation. I don't know where the heck Frog Jump is either. But I know that everybody there is somebody. Absolutely. And I know that you represent them well, and welcome.
Thank you.
Patrick and Ed, thank you also. This is about making jobs available better because of capital formation here in America. It just all makes sense. Delighted that people are working together. Yet another opportunity to enhance jobs, job creation. So you can count me in. I'll be there. I yield back.
Mr. Governor. Ms. Fox.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to compliment you on always recognizing the exact place that we're all from.
It's not grandfather community.
Yeah. Well,
What's wrong with Worcester?
Worcester.
but the only graduation speech that I remember from all my years of listening to graduation speeches is the one that somebody gave at my brother's graduation from high school, where the speech was basically about that, because it's amazing the connections you can make if you tell somebody exactly where you're from, instead of saying, you know, I'm from Asheville, when you're really from Arden or your grandfather community and not Boone.
Or North Charleston as opposed to Charleston.
Right. Makes a big difference. The other thing I'd like to say is that it's important, I think, that we continue to point out that the job creation bills that are passing the House have been passed with bipartisan votes. There's entirely too much being made or being said that we're dysfunctional here. We're not dysfunctional in the House. We might not be able to say that about the Senate, but we're not dysfunctional in the House, and we are passing good bills with bipartisan votes. And I think it really needs to be mentioned all the time. And so, and I appreciate Mr. Perlmutter from his services on the Rules Committee, and know that he often has good ideas and is willing to push those. So I
Would the
thank
gentlewoman
you all.
yield?
Yes, sir.
I thank my friend for yielding. Since you began by talking about commencement address, to sort of extrapolate on the opening sentence that was offered by Mr. McHenry, I'm reminded of another graduation line, which I use at the beginning of each graduation speech, and that is, I've learned from having done it over a long period of time that there is no such thing as a good 25-minute commencement address, and there's no such thing as a bad 8-minute commencement address. And I think that people who testify for the Rules Committee obviously follow that directive in many cases. Mr. Hastings.
Mr. Chairman, I'm from Altamont Springs. Winston Churchill said, "Never give up."
Mr. Bishop.
Don't I get a hometown shout-out here?
Mr. Bishop. Mr. Polis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I really couldn't be more excited to return to some terrific bipartisan bills. Crowdsourcing has great potential for allowing companies to finance and also allowing individual investors to participate. I hope that stemming from the strong, overwhelming, I assume, bipartisan majority that will likely support these bills, we can continue the discussion as well about accredited investment. I think it's time and ripe to reform that. People of means perhaps worth $100,000, $200,000, $200,000 are able to go to Las Vegas and bet it all on number 9, but they're not able to invest in companies. This is a partial remedy to that. I would love to work with the gentleman on remedies to the entire situation that prevents people from investing. Obviously, the real issue with sophistication and accreditation of the investor are generally unrelated to net worth. You have very sophisticated, smart investors that might be worth $100,000, and you have people that are worth millions that would just as likely throw it all away. So the two are really unrelated. Obviously, people who have means have met some degree of economic success, but very likely it's in a field that's unrelated to investing. So if they made their money from acting or from sports or from being a medical doctor, they don't necessarily have any more sophistication than somebody who might have a small fraction of their income but knows a lot about financial markets or the startup world. So these are great steps forward. I look forward to strongly supporting and vehemently supporting both bills. The amendments in terms of the indexation are also critical, and I'll yield to my colleague from Colorado who wants to address that.
I thank my friend. I want to reaffirm something you said. This is investing. These are sales of investments and securities, and we are using the vernacular crowdfunding, crowdsourcing. But when it comes to enforcing the laws, I want the record to be clear. This is the sale or investment in a security, and that body of law then kicks into place. From an Internet standpoint, the terminology is crowdfunding, crowdsourcing, but it really is the sale or investment in these securities, and that law needs to be it undergirds all of this from an investor protection standpoint.
Yeah, I mean, and as an example, there's a wonderful site that allows for crowdfunding called Kickstarter. A number of projects are funded that way, but they're not allowed to sell equity in any of the projects or any economic interest in the projects. This would provide a framework where they may or may not make the business decision to do that, but this would at least open that avenue that instead of just allowing the purchase of products or the pre-sale, they could actually sell participation in the economic results of the project, which I think is a very exciting development, a very fair development. It gives access to early stage companies, to regular American middle class, upper middle class families, whereas that was previously only the domain of the wealthy. So I think that that's a very positive development, and I think it's a first step, and I think we have other steps to take, but this alone will have a major impact, and I applaud the sponsors of this bill.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, and let me say if we want to attribute this bipartisanship to your paternity leave, we'd encourage you to have more children. Mr. Nugent.
Mr. Chairman, could you please turn on the mic? Sorry. Remind me every time, but thank you. You know, it really does my heart good to see bipartisan agreement, particularly as it relates to the ability to create jobs. And, Mr. Polis, I commend you for having the same outlook on it. It really, that's what makes America great, is when we all come together and have, common belief in regards to the American entrepreneur and the ability to create jobs in allowing those, like Mr. Polis had mentioned, those that, may not have the ability to get involved in other ventures, but they see something that a neighbor or a friend has and they can invest in it. And that's a great thing for us. So I appreciate all of you in regards to working in a common direction with a common theme to really, create jobs in America. And I think that's, we need more of that. Thank you.
Scott.
No, sir. It's good to see you. It's good to hear.
I'm sorry, could you please turn on the mic?
I didn't hear what you said to him. Please.
Mr. Webster. Gentlemen, thank you all very much for being here. We appreciate it. And yes,
Chair, see Mr. Miller.
no, Mr. Miller's not here.
The last was I would offer their.
Good. If they have statements without objection, will appear in the record. Thank you all very much for being here. That'll close the hearing for consideration of these measures, and we will distribute the rule, I hope. And Chair will be in receipt of a motion from the gentleman from Dallas.
Mr. Chairman, I move the committee grant H.R. 2930, the Entrepreneur Access to Capital Act, a structured rule. The rule provides 1 hour of general debate, equally divided and controlled by the chair and ranking minority member of the Committee of Financial Services. The rule waives all points of order against consideration of the bill. The rule provides that the amendment, the nature of the substitute recommended by the Committee on Financial Services, not printed in the bill, shall be considered as original text for the purpose of amendment and shall be considered as read. The rule waives all points of order against consideration of the committee amendment in the nature of a substitute. The rule makes in order only those further amendments to H.R. 2930 printed in Part A of the Rules Committee report. Each such amendment may be offered only, the order printed in the report may be offered only by a member designated in the report, shall be considered as read, shall be debatable for the time specified in the report, equally divided and controlled by the proponent and opponent, shall not be subject to amendment, and shall not be subject to a demand for division of the question. The rule waives all points of order against the amendments printed in Part A of the Rules Committee report. The rule provides one motion to recommit H.R. 2930 with or without instruction. The rule further provides for consideration of H.R. 2940, the Access to Capital for Jobs Creators Act, under a structured rule. The rule provides 1 hour debate, equally divided and controlled by the chair and ranking minority member on the Committee on Financial Services. The rule waives all points of order against consideration of the bill. The rule provides that the amendment in the nature of a substitute recommended by the Committee on Financial Services, now printed in the bill, shall be considered as adopted, and the bill as amended shall be considered as read. The rule waives all points of order against provisions in the bill as amended. The rule makes in order the further amendment printed in Part B of the Rules Committee report, if offered by Representative Miller of North Carolina or his designee, which shall be considered as read, shall be separately debatable for 10 minutes, equally divided and controlled by the proponent and opponent. The rule waives all points of order against the amendment printed in Part B of the Rules Committee report. Finally, the rule provides one motion to recommit H.R. 2940 with or without instructions.
You've heard the motion of the gentleman. Let me just say, as you can see, we have made in order all of the germane amendments. We have 3 Democratic amendments, then the bipartisan amendment, Mr. Perlmutter's with Mr. McHenry, and the bipartisan amendment, Mr. Fincher's, and the manager's amendment, and then only the Democratic amendment that Mr. Miller offered to the second bill is also made in order. Are there any amendments?
Good.
Mr. McGovern.
Mr. Chairman, I have an amendment to the rule. I move that the committee grant H.R. 2930 and H.R. 2940 each an open rule so that all members have the opportunity to offer amendments to the bills on the floor.
Heard the motion of the gentleman. Any further discussion? If not, the vote occurs on the McGovern amendment. Those in favor will say aye. Those opposed, no.
May I ask for a roll call, Mr. Chairman?
Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. Sessions? No. Mr. Sessions, no. Ms. Fox? No. Ms. Fox, no. Mr. Bishop? Mr. Bishop, no. Mr. Woodall? Mr. Nugent? Mr. Nugent, no. Mr. Scott? Mr. Scott, no. Mr. Webster? Mr. Webster, no. Ms. Slaughter? Mr. McGovern?
Aye.
Mr. McGovern, aye. Mr. Hastings? Aye. Mr. Hastings, aye. Mr. Polis? Aye. Mr. Polis, aye. Mr. Chairman?
No. Clerk, report the total.
Mr. Chairman, no. 3 yeas, 7 nays.
And the motion is not agreed. Are there further amendments? If not, the vote occurs on the motion of the gentleman from Dallas. Those in favor will say aye. Those opposed, no. For the chair, the ayes have it. The ayes have it. The motion is agreed to. And this will be managed by Mr. Sessions for the majority.
And Mr. Polis for the minority.
And Mr. Polis for the minority. Thank you all very much, and hope you have a good week. Without objection, the committee stands adjourned.